Charles Prosser. I think that you and I have probably done more shows together than anybody else that I've worked with. I think that's right.
Probably, yes. We've done more shows. You and I have done more shows together than just about anybody I have worked with, either on stage or director, actor.
Right, right. Not always acting, but although you were my first acting partner.
Was I?
Secret Garden.
The Secret Garden.
First show in 1990.
96
or 7?
It had to be 96.
Right. So you were my first acting partner. But I've directed you more than we've acted together.
My name is Charles Prosser. I am a retired teacher, having spent 27 years as a public school educator, teaching English and Spanish and computer science and yearbook and various other things. Now, drama, I used to teach high school in Thomasville, Alabama, and I was a drama teacher for a number of years. I am going to be 60 years old in October. That's I don't understand.
Remember when we used to think that was old?
Yeah. I still think that's old. I'll let you know how that goes when I get there. I am an Air Force brat. Moved around several times when I was a youngster. Lived in Europe for a while. My parents are Yankees.
Oh my gosh.
My mom is from Nebraska, actually. Her family's from Nebraska, so that doesn't really count. But my dad is from Pennsylvania. Mountain people. Come from mountain people.
That's why you don't have a thick southern accent.
Yeah, well, I have a southern accent when I don't think about it. Okay. I was bound and determined when we moved here. My dad was in the Air Force, so he retired in Montgomery. And then my parents decided that we were going to remain in Alabama, much to 5 children's chagrin. We were like, what? No snow in the winter? And my parents were like, exactly, no snow in the winter. I made it my mission not to have a southern accent. My brothers and sisters, well, with the exception of probably one, have gone full in southern.
Full in.
All oars in the water.
So you graduated from?
The University of Alabama.
Okay.
My undergraduate degree was in education, and I graduated in 1983. Now, this is an interesting thing. I was not a theater major. I wanted to become a theater major, but my mother said, if you cannot expect us to support you after you get out of college, so you have to major in something that you can get a job in. So I was like, okay, education. A lot of educators in my family anyway. I was at the university at the same time that Jeff Wilson and Drew Baker, and Kathy Morgan were there, and Paul Looney, as a matter of fact. He was in graduate school when I was an undergraduate in 1983. There's a picture of him, all hair. It's like lots of hair. Anyway, but he was old even then when he was in school. Paul Looney is an icon.
Yes,
you cannot speak about theater in Tuscaloosa without talking about Paul Looney. No, I love him to death. Graduated in 83, right? Then had a sojourn of 2 years in South America, teaching English as a foreign language at a bilingual institute in Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia, which is the capital of Colombia. It was amazing. I didn't speak Spanish when I got there. I lost like 40 pounds because I couldn't go shopping or anything. I had to wait for people to take me places to go eat. So, and then came back and got my my graduate degree in education and the equivalent of an undergraduate degree in Spanish. Actually did some theater in South America while I was there, in English. At the institute where we lived, we did English studies all the way. These were for college people and businessmen, right? It wasn't kids. And so some of the advanced courses, we had some sort of little theatrical skits and whatnot that we did. So we did our skits.
There you go. You couldn't help it. Even in another country.
That's right. I was doing skits. That's what we, at Theater Tuscaloosa, we were always like, well, we're working on this skit. And Drew Baker loves to call them skits.
Yes.
We're doing our skits.
Play practice.
That's right. Play practice.
Well, you've done a lot of things with Theater Tuscaloosa. Give us a little overview.
I started in 1990, the summer of 1990. Oliver. I was up here, and I was leading up to that because I started doing summer graduate studies in Spanish at the university. It was a special program where teachers in rural schools, this is when I was in Thomasville, Alabama, which is where I got my first teaching job, allowed people to come up to the university. Well, while I was up here, I saw an ad in the Tuscaloosa News for auditions for Oliver Theater Tuscaloosa. And I had just recently taken theater up again. I had a 10-year hiatus from theater, from high school. The worst theater experience I ever had in my life was when I was a senior in high school. And, we had us a little drama club. I went to a little country backwoods school in Montgomery County, Alabama. In Raymer, Alabama, Montgomery County High School. Little, 1A school. There were 100 of us maybe in the graduating class, most maybe 2A. Bad production of The Haunting of Hill House. And I played Dr. Montague. And when halfway through the first act, some actors started feeding me lines from the third act.
Oh my.
Yes, I knew that theater was not going to be something I was going to do. So 10 years. And so consequently, all the time that I was an undergraduate at the university, I never did any theater. Or I would have been on stage with Drew and Kathy and Jeff and Gary and all of those folks. I went to see them in shows. I remember seeing them in shows at the university. And at the old, it wasn't the AB Theater, it was Comer Hall then. I think that Drew and Gary mentioned Comer Hall when they did this. And went to see theater and saw them there and loved theater. But still, I just didn't do it. And then when I was in Thomasville, Alabama, somebody approached me and said, "You seem very theatrical." I'm like,
"You seem very theatrical."
I was just a teacher. I was like, single male teacher everybody called me senor. I taught Spanish and everybody called me senor. Everybody knew me, all the parents. Parents called me senor because that's what the kids called me. You seem very, very theatrical. We have a theater near here that you might be interested. They're doing a Christmas show called My Three Angels, and they need a person to be in that show. I played the young romantic lead. Anyway, yeah. So
you played lots of romantic leads, though.
Yes, I have. I've been very, very fortunate in roles that I've gotten over the years. But anyway, this was the first thing I had done since high school. And this theater that was close by was about 20 miles away as the crow flies. But in order to get there, you had to drive 58 miles.
Oh, my goodness.
One way to rehearsal, okay? And this was a little mom and pop shop. The folks that ran it was a dance school in Gilbertown, Alabama. I have a story about that because Brent and Michael and a bunch of folks from Theater Tuscaloosa came down to see a show I was in down there. The second summer I was up here. Anyway, Gilbertown, Alabama, little mom and pop shop. The folks that ran the place had been on Broadway and had done some tour shows, and she came from a ballet family from Russia. She was actually she spoke with an accent and stuff still, and he was a handsome gentleman who had this wonderful baritone voice that came from South Alabama and just went to New York. And when they decided they were going to have kids, they came back home, set up shop there because they didn't want to bring their kids up there. And did several shows with them. Did the Pajama Game, I did this show called Social Security. We did The King and I. And that was a show that folks from Theater Tuscaloosa came down to see. I did my first show was Oliver in the summer of '90. And then the next summer, we did Oklahoma. I came up to do Oklahoma because I was still in that graduate Spanish thing. And then the next summer, I had gotten to know the people well enough that by the time we were doing King and I, it was the summer, the next summer, that I said, come on down and see a show. Oh, okay. So they came down to see the show. First of all, they got there late, okay? I had to stop at the chicken place to get some chicken fingers or something. And they will tell you much different stories than I will. They couldn't stay until the second act, and my character didn't come in until the second act. So yes, but evidently they'll tell you stories that we had left a box fan on the stage because it was in the summertime, it was hot, and somebody had forgotten to remove the box fan from the stage. And while Lady Tiang was singing, there was a fly buzzing around, and she was like, he really did. And then she was trying to wave this fly away while she was singing.
Which reminds me of Secret Garden and the smoke. We did Secret Garden at the Bama.
Smoke. Oh my gosh.
You and I were sort of partners. I was Mrs. Medlock. I finally remember my name. And the opening number, I remember sitting, on this box, and the little Mary was sitting next to me, and literally I held my hand in front of my face and couldn't see it because there was so much fog.
Well, the old adage, if you can still see the actors, there's not enough fog. Of course, that's the stage manager and the crew. That's their thing.
Well, apparently it looked lovely, but I couldn't see a thing. You have done a ton of shows with us, and that was in '96, and you're still going strong.
And I counted up one time, either acting or stage managing or directing or some other way being involved with the show. I know that I have been in at least 2/3 of the shows on those walls.
Well, we have a tier named for you, the Charles Prosser Straight Flush Award. That is, if you are involved in every show of the season, then you get the Charles Prosser Straight Flush Award because you did everything.
Just for about 3 year run there in the mid aughts, 2000 through 2009, aught 9 or whatever. I think I did. I think for about 3 years in a row there, I just kind of did every show. Was involved in some way.
People don't know. I mean, they know that you act and they know that you direct. People probably don't know that sometimes you have done props for us. You are a go-to for me when I need someone to help me with foreign language interpretation or pronunciation or something like that. You're really good at dialects for me. You've done sound design. You house manage. There's just rarely a job that you haven't done at some point.
Community theater, you have to be ready to do what you need to do when you need to do it. And if people, will only act and only show up for the big shows and stuff like that, I don't think they're really part of what's going on. It's something I have to do. It's inside of me. It's the one thing that I've found in my life that gives me true bliss. And that's why the last year for me has just been so hard.
It's been tough.
Been so hard. That's the same story. I know lots of people, much more professional sort of folks that have had, true financial troubles this last year because of not being able to work and whatnot. For me, it's just been more of an emotional, psychological hit, than anything else.
Well, I know you're constantly creating. You do a lot of stuff online. You're a computer whiz. People may not know that about you, but
did you know that I created and maintained the first website that Theater Tuscaloosa had?
I did not know
As a matter of fact, I named it theatertusk.com.
I'll be doggone.
Yes, just because we thought Theater Tuscaloosa would be too long to write.
That was
with
smart.
Paul Looney. We got together and collaborated, and he told me what he wanted on the website. And I was just in, burgeoning skills of web design, which is what I do now at the county board, is I take care of the district website. But we created a website and archived all the photos, and it was very labor intensive.
Yeah, you were writing code and all that stuff.
Right. When you had to write it pretty much by hand back then. The situation that Theater Tuscaloosa has now is much better for you guys, because the way that the web pages are done these days, you can just plug and play. You can just say I'm going to own this picture on there and to this underneath it, and it formats it for you. That wasn't the case back then. We had to make
I know
all
you've
that stuff
spent a
up.
lot of time labor-intensive stuff on the computer for us too. So there's just, just people don't realize how deep you go into the Theater Tuscaloosa family. But let's talk about your acting, because that's how people mostly know you. Tell me some of your favorite roles.
Wow. I started in the chorus, okay? So everybody that says Charles Prosser gets any role he wants and he gets all the good roles, I was in the chorus for my first 10 years of Theater Tuscaloosa. I was a slow learner. Most everything I've learned about theater has come through Theater Tuscaloosa and doing shows. I do not have a degree in theater. I have had some acting classes, but I've just learned by doing.
Right.
And started out in the chorus, and that's the best place to start, because you learn how to behave on stage. You learn how to, not pull focus when you don't need to.
Right.
The best, Don Speed, bless his heart, gave me some of the funniest memories I ever had on stage just during the chorus numbers of Oklahoma, when everybody's doing the chivalry, the marriage thing, where everybody's making lots of noise and stuff like that. He would run up to me and undo my overall things, just run around and say things, which I can't repeat here, into my ear, just so that I can only hear them. And I'm just like, this is my second show with Theater Tuscaloosa. I'm like, and we can do this? No. But start out in the chorus. And Oliver, Percy Snodgrass, Lauren Wilson, and that was our first show, both of our first shows with Theater Tuscaloosa. And Michael Carr, I fell in love with Michael Carr so much that summer. He was playing Fagin. And I still think, in Tuscaloosa, probably in the South, he's one of the finest actors. People could have seen Michael Carr in his heyday. Oh my God. Anywho, Michael, love you.
I've directed you and Drew together a lot. And you two together are like Harvey Korman and Carol Burnett. You two are the craziest comedians together. And yet, when you guys do your serious work, though, it's unbelievable, because you two can be so funny and so nutsy like y'all were in Drowsy Chaperone. But I'll go back to Anne Frank. That show still is one of my top shows of great memories of how difficult that was and how wonderful you were.
Drew is such an easy actress to work with. She knows her craft. She's extremely serious about what she does. Don't ever make the mistake of not thinking that. Mm-hmm. She's a comedian. Mm-hmm. She is a true comedian. Mm-hmm. Timing like nobody's business. Mm-hmm. But very, very, very hard worker at what she does. She works hard to be as funny as she is. Mm-hmm. And so working with her in A Little Night Music, the couple times that we did that, and the first time we were paired together in a show called Plaza Suite, Paul Crook directed us in that. But we ran around the stage yelling and screaming at one another for a half hour, and it was the most fun I ever had. Mm-hmm. It was the best time. And then Kathy Wilson and I have been married. Kathy Morgan and I have been married in Smoke on the Mountain. Mm-hmm. Couple times, mm-hmm. several iterations of that. And then Ava. Started out with Ava in MAME, Summer '96. and I played her agent. Started with her in that, and was her Van de Gelder in Hello, Dolly. Her love interest in Little Night Music. And we did The Company. And then most recently we did Cabaret.
But I think the cutest couple might be you and Brent in Hairspray.
Hairspray.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You were really a stunningly beautiful woman once you made the transformation into the pretty one.
Yes, I was going to say.
The first half, you pulled that off. You pulled that off really well. But once you were like, welcome to the 60s.
But fabulous. We should have seen that coming, because you and I had experience in Tempest Tossed.
Yes.
You remember where we played Muses?
Yes. At UA, you and I did an original show, and but I just remember us standing around a lot.
I was a lady at the top of that show, though.
Right.
Before we transformed.
We all were in drag-ish. It was crazy. But remember, we would stand around and we would make fun of everybody else. That was me and you and Barry Austin.
That was easy.
We would just make fun of everybody else. You know, and I know that people think that you and I are very kind, loving, precious.
No,
we are not.
Not me.
Not together.
I have a reputation for being the biggest diva ever, and I don't know where that comes from.
I don't know either.
I'm humble to a fault.
So speaking of, Charles, tell us about your process of acting.
My process is watch all the movies that they've made the show from. No. As I said, I didn't have a formal education in it, so the process has been get the script, read the script. Michael Carr, I took a little acting class from him one summer, and he taught me how to mark the beats in a script, and get the ideas, and look at the words. And look at your character, but mostly look at what other characters in the play say about your character, and that'll tell you what to do. You know, and who thinks about it? Like, if you could video your whole life and see what other people said about you, you would know that that's why they are just reacting to what you did. So if you can, in a script, you can go in reverse and go. Okay, so I'll be doing this later, so I need to do this here, and thinking about it ahead of time. So think about it, read it. I generally read through the script, 10 times. Okay, that's a lie. I generally read through the script twice before we rehearse. And then I mark my lines, count up all my lines.
We have the funniest joke about that. We always are like, you can always tell a young actor, because they're like, I have 33 lines.
I have 33 lines. I remember. Yes, I remember the first time. Well, listen, the biggest role I've ever played was Falstaff in Henry IV parts 1 and 2 that I did in Oklahoma. And we'll talk a little bit about.
Did Paul Crook direct that?
Paul Crook directed it. I have had 5 or 6 summers of professional summer stock theater experience in Oklahoma at the Oklahoma Shakespearean Festival. And my first summer out there, I did Falstaff. And I counted the lines in that. I had like 672 lines and paragraphs, You didn't count as each line. I mean, each line could be a paragraph,
Right.
So it was a lot. But he cut that. I mean, but that show was cut big time. I think Falstaff is like 3rd in the number of lines of any Shakespearean character.
Probably Hamlet and Lear right up in there.
Guys, Macbeth and those guys. But but I stopped counting lines a long time ago. I did count lines. But my process is one where I learn by doing. I have never been, and I know actors and actresses, they're both actors now.
Right.
Okay, I can say that. I'm up with the times.
Yes.
That can just memorize, just come in and be off book and know their lines and stuff like that. I've never been able to do that. I learned by being in the space. When Theater Tuscaloosa used to do shows at the Bama, we had a rehearsal space on University Boulevard. And they roughly, they would tape out the floor and stuff like that. But I still think I learned more in the week that we were in the Bama before we opened than, any other time. Thank goodness that was still back in the days when I didn't have such big roles. So. And
that's when we were young.
For me to do.
That's when we were young and could stay up half the night.
Yes.
And, because when we moved into the Bama, we essentially had 4 or 5 days.
Yes.
And we have this luxury now of being on the Bean Brown stage for the most part in rehearsals and leading up to it. So we're spoiled rotten now, but back in the day, we literally would have 4 or 5 rehearsals. And
that's it.
And so we would stay really late. We were young back then and could do that and then still go to the Waffle House at 3 o'clock in the morning after that and go to work the next day. But
yes. It's funny that the theater, the Theater Tuscaloosa family, who's now on probably its 3rd generation, though there's a group of us that were there when I first started in 90, that were all young, fresh out of college kind of people that were relatively the same age, and we have moved through over the years, and a lot of Theater Tuscaloosa is blessed with a lot of actors of seasoned actors.
Seasoning.
There's a lot of old folks there. Anyway, and rehearsal times have gone from ending at midnight or 1 o'clock to ending at 9:30. Well, yeah, but they start earlier too. It's like we go to the Piccadilly and you have the buffet, and then we go to rehearsal.
Yes, so we would on Friday nights we would rehearse till sometimes 11:30, and then we would
go out drinking.
We would go out and frolic, as we might say, and then we would go to the Waffle House and have breakfast at 3 or 4 o'clock. And now, if we did that, it would take us a month to recover from that. So. There's so many great memories I have with you. Recently, Cabaret, you and Ava together doing that show, absolutely you were gut-wrenching towards the end of that show, and just watching your relationship develop and you developing those characters was beautiful to watch.
I don't think that if we had not had years of that chemistry would not have been there.
I think that's the beauty of this group of actors that get to work together off and on. And we've got another group that's kind of coming up. We've got several groups that are working together. But I do think just the family, that's the beauty of community theater is that we become a family. That's something you can't really teach. And yet it's the bonus of working with the same, group of people over and over again.
Right.
But remember we were doing You Can't Take It With You. Oh my gosh.
Which time? I've done it like
this
3
last
times.
one.
Okay.
And when Georgia Wise was in it, and
amazing.
Between the two of you playing Kalinkoff. Is that right? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Kalinkoff.
Kalinkoff. Oh my gosh, playing the Russian dance teacher. Oh my gosh.
Bling says.
Again, a character role that's not, the biggest role in the show, but just absolutely walks off with the show.
Listen, I am almost always the biggest role in the show. This is...
Me too, Charles.
Here's the thing, though. Just let me take one moment to talk about this, because this is important. I would not have a snowball's chance of landing the parts that I have had in a bigger market, I don't think. Tuscaloosa, I'm a big dude. I've always been big. Well, not you dig up some. If y'all dig up some old pictures of Oliver, I've had different sizes, but some of the roles that I've played, I'm kind of physically, I'm sort of physically right for them. But there's no way you can tell me that Carl Magnus in A Little Night had this body.
I don't
But
know,
the fact
Charles.
that Paul Looney had faith in my being able to carry that part or pull that part off was a huge compliment to me, I thought. And I tried my darndest to do it, you know. Now, you know, Schultz, the guy that I played in Company, I don't think that Joanna would have had that big fat husband that she had. But, you know, maybe over the years or whatever, he, you know, put on a little weight. But Tevye, I felt fine with. He, you know, just because Jeanette Waterman is the most amazing costumer ever, and she made the clothes that made him look fine. But some of the roles that I've gotten, I've been very lucky to get, and you know, there are much better actors in town. There are better singers in town, but I will have to kind of say that when it comes to comedy, I can hold my own.
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'm just gonna put it that way.
Yes, you can.
I'm not too much of your drama actor.
I don't know. My favorite is your dramatic.
Well, you know, then that's what they say a lot of times. They say, well, comedians are really good drama actors because, you know, comedy's hard. First of all,
so hard.
Comedy's really hard. But drama's hard too.
Yeah.
I haven't done a lot of drama because Jeff Wilson and Gary Wise are in town. Why would you cast me when you have those two amazing actors in town? No. In the community size of Tuscaloosa, people have niches. Sometimes people cross over, but you know, almost always in this town this size with the pool of actors, I don't want to say that anybody could precast.
People assume that we do precast, and
yeah,
you know, sometimes it would be
and you really don't.
We really don't. Although it would be stupid for me not to, if I'm going to do a certain show, if I'm going to do Gypsy, I've got to have a Mama Rose. You know, I mean, there's just, you know, there's just some things that we know. If we're going to do Hairspray, Charles Prosser is going to be in town. I'm making sure Charles Prosser is going to be in town for the summer. You know, I mean, just things like that. But people don't realize that there is a whole lot less of that than they think. Yeah. And I think what I love about you, Charles, is that you show up and you go, I'm here. I'll do whatever. I'll play whatever.
I don't care. If I were to be put in the chorus of the next musical, I would do it. If that's where I need to be.
It's much harder work in the chorus, though. It's much harder.
It's hard.
It's way harder.
Hard work. I don't know if I have the energy to be in the chorus
Oh my
anymore.
gosh, yes. I mean, you and I have done some chorus work, and we were like, we're tired.
Just oxygen.
Let's not forget Noises Off, though. All the crazy, zany.
And Brookwood. Yeah.
That was probably the hardest show one of the hardest shows I've ever directed, but you guys literally had me laughing so hard that I couldn't catch my breath sometimes. It was so much fun. It was the hardest thing I think I've ever done, but it was, and I'd acted in that show, but to direct that show, but you guys were, speaking of masterclass.
That was a wonderful show.
Y'all were a masterclass in comedy.
We had so much fun, and again, you had great people on that stage, but at the same time, not everybody was like one of the theater. We had new people in that show, but run up and down those stairs with my pants around my ankles.
You've dropped your drawers a lot.
I did.
I
do. In Theater Tuscaloosa, I dropped my drawers.
I don't know what I think it's the kind of comedic
Carl Magnus
actor.
took all his clothes off.
Yeah, dropping your britches.
And even in Anne Frank, I had to get out of that suit. You know, that's when I snuck and stole the bread. Fat man steals the bread from a starving family in an attic.
Brought a whole new dimension to that role.
In Amsterdam.
All right. Well, we've talked about a lot of different roles and different leading ladies and stuff. If somebody were new to Theater Tuscaloosa and needed some advice, what would you tell them about auditioning and working at Theater Tuscaloosa?
Don't wait. just audition. Familiarize yourself with the show that you're going to be auditioning for before you know, the Theater Tuscaloosa always has the script available ahead of time that people can come look at and read if they want to. If it's, you know, if it's been a movie or something like that, you might want to look at it. If you know, these days on the YouTubes, you can see stuff, but you don't want to, just to familiarize you, or you can get synopses and stuff like that. I really wouldn't watch performances. But to be ready to listen, to not be fearful of whether you make a mistake or not. I have always had a very mild dyslexia, and so for me, cold reads have always been terrifying, because words jump around and I'll mess up. But what directors are looking for is, you know, you to be willing to participate and to be willing to you know, make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And if somebody were just starting out, if acting isn't your gig, there is a lot to do in community theater. If you can paint, you know, you can help paint sets, and some people's thing is electronics, and there's so much of that in theater these days, whether it would be the sound or the lighting or any of that. If you want to watch the show every night, be a house manager, be an usher, you know, if you just enjoy watching it, you know. Work the Theater Tuscaloosa and community theaters always need money. If your thing is being able to, you know, go out there and work those fundraisers and stuff like that, there's volunteerism, you know, in every level, in every aspect that people can get involved with. It's not just acting on the stage.
We've had some good times, haven't we?
We surely have, and it just kind of all, you know, sort of accordions in. Sometimes you think, well, it was in this show that this happened, but no, it wasn't. It was in that show. And then sometimes you can pull that accordion out and you can remember specific moments from specific shows. My whole life for the last 30 years, I can tell you what show I was doing, what show I was rehearsing when some important
major event.
Mm-hmm. You know. Mm-hmm. The death of my father was Dickens of a Carol. And you know, just my sister and brother's weddings were bookended on the summer of Oliver. I mean, just, you know, major events like historical events. This is a community actors. You reference it by what show you were doing at the time, you know, or what was going on. And it's funny, and when lovely, thoughtful directors and producers pick shows that have to do with current national feelings or national events, that's always special, you know. And some of these, like, you know, little play festivals where you get people to write shows that are very timely and very specific to what's going on, you really feel like you get the chance through your art to help shed a light or some explanation through the wonderful words of gloriously talented playwrights to, you know, say the right thing at the right time. I mean, that's the thing with theater. I think that's what it is. Somebody described it to me as saying and doing the thing you need to say and do at the time you need to say and do it.
That's good.
You know, because, well, you know, the playwright has time to think about, okay, what we're doing. No, anyway. But, and then having the opportunity to do that and having people appreciate it, you know. I've been stopped in the Winn-Dixie before.
You're famous in the Winn-Dixie.
Did you play so-and-so? Or sometimes they'll say, I loved you in that, all that Shakespeare show where y'all played all them parts. I'm like, no, that was Paul Crook.
That wasn't me. That was
Paul Crook and I get mixed up. Theater Tuscaloosa has literally been and defined my life for the last 30 years. And in the year of COVID, I have found other groups of people that I've been able to work with online in theater and stuff, but it's not anything like being with people that you have formed true friendships with, and the family, you know, like family relationships with. And when you get to work and play with people that you have known for 20, 25 years on the stage, it's just really special and very nice.